Happy Friday, kiddies, and your Uncle Spurt is back to give you a proper dose of the clap. Consumer launches and products, that is, as well as a proper full-on face full of herpes. And that one's not an acronym, by the way, it's just herpes.
Tech Spurt Weekly!
So first up this week, OPPO has finally revealed the big launch date for its well-anticipated Find X8 Ultra. Its most super deluxe smartphone to date and a level-upped version of this here rather excellent Find X8 Pro, what I reviewed a couple of months ago. In a teasery trailer released earlier this week, OPPO tickled our collective fancies by flashing us a glimpse of not only the Ultra, but also a pair of skinnier blowers known as the Find X8S and the Find X8S Plus. And these should essentially be slightly more compact versions of the original Find X8 flagship phones with super skinny frames and hopefully no sacrifice to those premium specs. As for the Ultra, well, this looks very much like the Find X8 and Find X8 Pro, except it's expected to be even more of a huge arse at 6.82 inches. And if you haven't completely wrecked your vision with gluttonous helpings of internet smut, you may well have spied that the alert slider over on that left edge appears to have been replaced with a regular button of sorts. If these renders aren't a sloppy sack of scrotum secretions, that means that OPPO could well have segued to an iPhone-style action button, which presumably would be just as customizable. So a quick push could still stick the phone in Do Not Disturb mode, just like the old alert slider could do, otherwise you could program it to open any app or feature you like. Meanwhile, on the opposite edge of the Find X8 Ultra, beneath the power and volume buttons, OPPO appears to have stuck with that iPhone-style camera button first found on the Find X8 Pro. Now, this wasn't great on the Pro, but at least it was still better than Apple's attempt on the iPhone 16 Pro phones. Which, to be fair, is kind of like saying that having your nipples twisted a full 720 degrees is better than having your happy sack yanked right over your heads like the ultimate atomic wedgie. The Find X8 Ultra's display is expected to be another 2K AMOLED LTPO panel, same as the Pro, but the brains of the operation should be Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite, which wasn't quite ready in time for the previous flagships. Those phones were instead serviced by MediaTek's Dimensity 9400, which, to be fair, still packs more pork than Mr. Porky's pork scratchings. And we've also had ourselves a proper peek at the Find X8 Ultra's Hasselblad branded camera tech this week. So it looks like OPPO's sticking with the 1-inch LYT900 sensor from last year's Ultra and combining it with another pair of LYT sensors for the 3x and 6x periscope zoom lenses, as well as a bit of ultra-wide shooter action using Samsung's JN5 sensor. Proper lush stuff. So overall, on the Nick Cage scale that we set up earns itself at least 4.5, oh no, not the B's, not the B's. Other OPPO Find X8 Ultra leaks thus far point to a ruddy great big 6100 mAh battery with 100 watt wired and 50 watt wireless charging, plus a bit of satellite support for the 1TB model. Of course, the big question is, will the OPPO Find X8 Ultra ever actually find its way here to Blighty, especially after the debacle that was the Find N5 launch, which did technically launch over here, but then just never actually bothered being released. A metaphorical kick to the knackers that registered about 7.8 on the Richter scale. Well, hopefully we'll know for sure on April the 10th, and hopefully this bald YouTube nerd will have one to waggle about on camera soon. And now for the bit where I bang on about a product or service like I do in my regular videos, except it's a lot shorter and therefore less bad. Uncle Spurt, we won. It's a short review, not his penis. And this week, kiddies, I'll be doing a short spurt all over Acer's fresh new Nitro mobile gaming controller NGR400. The Acer Nitro mobile gaming controller NGR400 connects to your blower using USB-C. So it works with Android phones and even recent iPhones what don't use that lightning bollocks. You've got yourself a secondary USB port with pass-through charging support so you can keep your phone powered up while you play. But the best thing about the Nitro mobile gaming controller NGR400, besides the catchy name, is the buttons. So many buttons. Look at all these little f***ers. There's this one here and this one. This one's probably my favourite though. Look at how red it is. Doesn't do out like, but still, it's proper nice and red. It's a simple plug and play affair, just slap your phone in there and it'll start working with games like Wuthering Waves instantly, zero effort, which is exactly what I like. You got a proper textured grip as well, so the phone won't go flying out of your hands and smack some innocent granny in the teeth during a particularly sweaty Wuthering Waves session. And if you're pig bloody sick of playing games on your smartphone, well, no worries, just whip off the Nitro controller and it folds up reasonably compact. So you can just about squeeze it into your jacket pocket alongside your ciggies or your emergency pocket of Monster Munch or your handgun if you're American. And there you have it, my lovelies. That in a tasty wee nutshell is the fresh new Acer Nitro Mobile Gaming Controller NGR 400. Alright, so that's enough mini spurts for another week. Now let's unfurl our metaphorical mailbag and see what you think about stuff.
Viewer comments.
Shame on you!
So Brevity4308 says, I'm very straight and I love my missus, but there's always a but following that sentence. You come in a very close second. I mean, if it's a three-way that you're after here, I'm absolutely game. Emerson says, I watched this instead of drinking. The result is the same. Now, do you mean like a bloody annoying migraine that you can't seem to shift for at least 24 hours? Or maybe just your family holding an intervention? Raymond G says, I saw this guy reviewing an iPhone 16e in the AA lobby. That must have been another unfortunate bald short arse who happened to have an iPhone 16e on him. I'm not anonymous, don't you know? Your Uncle Spurt is officially a shitty Z-list internet celebrity. I even occasionally get recognised out and about in public these days, though it's almost certainly always in a pub or some form of drinking establishment, which says a lot about my audience in general. Abby9641 says, I feel warm and fuzzy inside. And that'll probably either be indigestion or a tumour. I might want to smash some Pepto-Bismol just in case, not that that's going to do much if it is a tumour, but yeah, I'm sure it's just a dodgy pork scratching or something. Mr. Morlib says, welcome to the 1 minute gang. Oh mate, I've been a member of that particular gang since I was about 14. In last week's episode, we were, of course, banging on briefly about the Nothing Phone 3 upcoming flagships. We've got some correspondence on that. Steve W says, I'm still using the Nothing Phone 1 and I don't think I'll be updating to the 3 this year. It's still working really well, even if it's not getting Android 16. And Phone Equinox says, I just upgraded from the Phone 1 to the Phone 3A Pro and it's been amazing so far. Yeah, I'm still absolutely impressed by the 3A and the 3A Pro. In fact, the regular 3A is probably even more cracking value than the Pro model. Certainly a cracking start to 2025 for Nothing, so, you know, high hopes for the Nothing Phone 3 and also the CMF Phone 2, which should hopefully be launching soon as well. Wimimation says, I'm already very impressed by all the videos on the 3A, so if this is coming soon, I'm definitely buying. And Magic says, is it me or does the glyph thingy resemble a very abstract Apple logo? I mean, yeah, I guess if you screw up your eyes really, really hard and maybe drink half a bottle of single malt, and probably the rest of the bottle just to be sure. Smaug9833 says, it better be 8 Elite on the Phone 3 with the IP68 rating. If it's not comparable to the OnePlus 13, then what's even the point? Oh yeah, if the Nothing Phone 3 ends up being the same sort of price as the OnePlus 13, that sort of upper £600 mark area, then you'd want it to match it with the 8 Elite chipset, especially as, of course, the POCO F7 Ultra has got the same 8 Elite stuffed in there for around the same sort of price. It's actually a little bit less, but, you know, Nothing tends to go for a slightly older, slightly less capable chipset just to bump down the price a bit. So I'm kind of hoping Nothing Phone 3, if it does go, you know, 8 Gen 3 or 8S Gen 3 or whatever, will end up costing under £600. Maybe start around the sort of £500 mark. That would be rather ruddy lovely. GKGC4RY says, I read an article that a teardown of the Essential Space app suggests a potential subscription model. I mean, yeah, that would be proper wank if they did start charging for AI stuff, just like, of course, you had the rumours of Samsung charging for its AI shenanigans not so long ago. But I reckon if they did start charging, they wouldn't get many takers for it, especially the Essential Space. I really like it, but would I pay money for it on top of like all the other subscriptions we spunk out for every month? Probably not, and especially on more affordable phones like the 3A and the 3A Pro. The whole point is that they're cheap phones. You don't want to then offset that by paying, even if it's just £2 or £3 a month, for features that you used to be able to use for free. And on that subject, imagine if Apple started charging for its so-called intelligence features. It'd be like giving someone cash every month to slap you in the balls with a crowbar. And while we were banging on about nothing phones in the previous episode, I came up with a solid gold idea, so I thought at least, for a viral video extravaganza. So first up, I just recently finished reviewing Colpe's satisfying 6-incher. I do of course mean the Nothing Phone 3A, not his penis. Although hey, who knows, maybe a hands-on with the Nothing Don's dong could be YouTube gold. Call me, call. And Nikki Chantal says, bit awkward if he actually did call. In case anyone's wondering, no, Call did not get in touch. So sorry kiddies, no awkward squelchy nerd smut appearing on my OnlyFans anytime soon. I bet if I was Mr. Who's the Boss, the phone would have been ringing off the f***ing hook. On the subject of my OnlyFans, Mythic Sons says Chris's OnlyFans equals videos of Chris drinking pints with his shirt off. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, occasionally, I spill a bit and, rub it into my hairy nipples. Go subscribe! Asaya says, clicked for the reviews but subbed for the jingles. And hey, if it's jingles you like, RIP Vision says, where do you get your wallpapers from? Please tell. Wall.alphacoders.com. Wall.alphacoders.com. That's where my wallpapers come from. Wall.alphacoders.com. Erong9378 says, Uncle Spurt, have you considered filling up the last 15 seconds of your videos when the cards appear with outtakes? Buddy, it would take a lot longer than 15 seconds to house all of my various f***ups. If I did stick a compilation of all my various bouts of verbal diarrhea at the end of the video, it would probably triple the length. But hey, keep on watching at the end of this week's episode, and you never know, might be a sneaky little treat hidden away in there. But probably not. Chances are fair to excellent that I'll either forget to stick something in, otherwise just suddenly decide I can't be arsed. Jesse Boy says, any plans to review the Pura X, Chris? Apps are buggering Luli, mate. Yeah, I love my dinky compact phones, and especially love dinky compact weird phones, and that certainly ticks all the boxes there. So no idea if I'll get the chance, if it'll even come to, the rest of the world. Probably not, but if I do get the chance, you lovely lot will be the first one to see a hot bit of fondly action. Really out of time now, so better make these the last couple of comments. Momonosuke Kazuki says, when are you going to sell gougy priced merch? Sadly, I made the tough decision not to make an absolute packet selling channel merch after an ill-advised experiment with the TechSpurt butt plug. Only ever sold the one, and that was to your mum. But hey, never say never, right? As soon as that YouTube ad revenue drops off, I'll probably start desperately hawking Mr. Wank socks at 20 quid a pop. And Peanut Nutter says, I had a squirrel staring at me for 3 minutes the other day, but I didn't have any shoes on, so he got away with it. You see, emergency situations just like this is exactly why I always carry a spare tin of baked beans on me. Anyway, many thanks to everyone for smashing your comments down in the commentary thing in the last episode. Please do the same in this episode, and we'll try and whale your way through as many of those as possible next weekend. Speaking of next week, what the f*** is next week? Actually, not next week, I'm afraid, because it's the Easter holidays. There'll be no TechSpurt Weekly for a couple of weeks. Going to be spending some quality time with the Sprog. Probably hand her a few quid and tell her to go nuts in the old fruit machine while I sink a few pints in spoons. But fear ye not, your Uncle Spurt won't leave you in tech limbo. You won't have to rush off and start watching other YouTube nerds or anything. Plenty more tech shenanigans will be going live next week, including hopefully my full final frank review of the POCO F7 Pro, more affordable version of the Ultra, and a couple other bits I can't quite bang on about just yet because they are under embargo. Anyway, a massive thanks for joining me in my boudoir for another week. Definitely please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell if you haven't done already, and have yourselves a ruddy, fantastic Easter holidays, everyone. Cheers, everybody. I love you. And this week, kiddies, I'll be doing a short spurt all over Acer's Nitro Mobile Gaming Controller. I hope I forgot the f***ing name right. And this week, kiddies, I'll be doing a short spurt all over Acer's fresh new Nitro Mobile Gaming Controller NGR, of course.